May I welcome to the stage Loes Keijsers, Ann Masten, Rector Annelien Bredenoord en pedel Marleen Kester.
Dear Rector, esteemed colleagues and dear distinguished guests, here today in this room, but also online. It's my great pleasure and privilege to introduce to you our Honorary Doctor. Professor Ann Masten holds the position of Regents Professor of Child Development, Irving B. Harris Professor in Child Development, and Distinguished McKnight University Professor at the University of Minnesota in the US. She is internationally well known and has received multiple awards for her research on children and their families. Professor Masten has been intrigued by the question, how is it possible that some children thrive even when they're faced with adversity? And even when they grow up in harsh environments, and even when they are faced with earthquakes, war, homelessness, or a pandemic. In other words, why are some youth resilient? And this question has actually puzzled scientists for decades, and the answer has come from a truly continuous stream of iconic publications by Professor Masten. Her theoretical scholarship conceptualizes processes of risk and resilience in development as the result of complex interactions between the child, the families, but also the communities and the built environments in which they grow up. And her scholarship actually teaches us that resilience is not something that a child has or doesn't have, but that it's the result of a complex interplay between children, their families, and their communities. Her book, 2014 book, called Ordinary Magic, actually summarizes 40 years of resilience research. And it's really a must-read for anyone working with youth or families. But, luckily for all of us, she's also developed now a massive online open course, which each of you can subscribe to today. And it has already been followed by more than 35,000 individuals, and it teaches all about the essentials of resilience. And at the same time that many youth around the world are struggling with the consequences of disasters, such as climate change, or poverty, or the COVID pandemic, the work of Professor Masten gives them hope and is reason to be optimistic. For instance, in her research work, she has identified factors that promote well-being and resilience across multiple life domains at once, actually, such as sensitive caregiving by parents, a sense of belonging, but also positive routines, habits, and celebrations, like this one today. Many of these protective factors can be strengthened to promote well-being of next generations, and this fact is especially hopeful for youth living up in more disadvantaged circumstances. The vitality of cities and its residents and communities depends highly on the adaptive capacity of people, especially children and their families. And as such, Professor Masten's scholarship closely connects to the Erasmus initiative Vital Cities and Citizens. And in fact, her interdisciplinary scholarship and the successful ways also in which her work promote impact and positive societal impact are a continuous source of inspiration for scholars within this initiative and involved faculties like the Erasmus School of Social and Behavioral Sciences. Professor Masten's work doesn't only inform scientists, but has also been an inspiration to practice and to policymakers to more successfully prepare for global issues of potentially catastrophic magnitude. Investing in youth carries forward to next generations. Professor Masten's work is therefore a strong call to us adults to invest in children and to provide them with the vital resources to flourish in life. After all, if our society doesn't provide a healthy environment for children to play outside, if healthcare and mental health care are unavailable to some children, and if we damage the ecology of our planet, how can we actually expect our children to be resilient? Professor Masten teaches us actually that we should see our world through the eyes of a child and shape it accordingly. And on the occasion of the 109th Dies Natalis of Erasmus University, we therefore honor Professor Masten's work and her outstanding contribution to the field of child development in general, the study thereof in the Netherlands, and at our university in particular. Erasmus University warmly congratulates Professor Masten with the Honorary Doctorate we today confer upon her. And now you will hear some official words. By virtue of the powers invested in us by statute and in accordance with the decision of the Doctorate Board, we hereby confer upon you, Ann S. Masten, the title of Doctor Honoris Causa, together with all the rights which statute and custom attached to this degree. And as a token and proof thereof, we present you with the corresponding charter, duly signed and sealed, and clothe you with the kappa.
Also, on behalf of Erasmus University Rotterdam, we would like to congratulate you, and also thank you for being here physically. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, this is an incredible honor. Dear Rector, other members of the Executive Board, deans, faculty, students, my honorary promoter, and ladies and gentlemen. It's hard to express in words what a tremendous honor this is to me, that to be recognized for the work on resilience and to be part of this very special ceremony on the 109th Dies Natalis here at Erasmus University. It's a particular honor because I believe that this university has taken on a leadership role in understanding and applying resilience, and I was thrilled that the program was opened with the art and voices of children, which I think is a very important way that we can all support the resilience of children. Oops, here we go. As was already mentioned, we live in very difficult times. Even before the pandemic, we were already seeing the rising numbers of natural disasters, some related to climate change and some not. We also were seeing the price of political conflict, and one of the children mentioned some of those issues in the opening film. But there were also ominous signs of diversity problems in terms of the collapse of our ecosystems, and yet at the same time, people were flocking into cities. It has become increasingly important for us to think about the role of cities in building and nurturing the resilience of societies by the ways in which they invest in the resilience of children. And I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to share a few thoughts about that theme today. Children depend on many systems. They develop interacting not just with families and other children, but with many people in their schools and with many people in their communities. And they're going to encounter adversities. We know there are challenges ahead. We can prevent some of them, and that's important, but we can't prevent everything. And we know that life is full of surprises. And I believe that decades of resilient science have yielded some clues for what we might do. And I was really excited to see that the children have already showed you in their drawings at the beginning, and told you in the remarks that they made what they think we can do. Cities have an important role to play, and I think the children, as well as the science, can be a guide to what can be done. So I want to start by defining resilience. Resilience refers to a multi-system process. It's the capacity of a system, whether that system is a child, a person like you or me, a family, an economy, or city. The capacity to adapt successfully to challenges that threaten that system, its function, its survival, or its development. And I like this kind of definition of resilience because I think we need a systems definition. So, because we have to put together our understanding of the entire world that shapes the development of children. Children are embedded in multiple systems, and that influences their development. And the science, we have science on resilience at multiple levels. Some people study the brain development or the resilience of the body. Other people study the resilience of the mind. Others, the resilience of families, communities, and so forth. In order to deal with major disasters and the variety of challenges we face, we need to integrate what we know and put it into action. So I really like these system-oriented definitions. This is illustrating some of these ideas in different pictures. Kids are influenced and shaped by all kinds of people and systems around them. And for that reason, their resilience is always changing throughout development and as children have different kinds of experience. But that also means that resilience is malleable. We can make a difference. We can contribute and build resilience at many different points over the lifespan, although it's important to invest in resilience early. Over the years, there's been many studies around the world, and I've been following the resilience literature for many more years than I'd care to admit. But as the evidence came to everybody through the research, people began to see, me included, that there were consistent themes. And what was interesting about the themes is that they've already come up in this ceremony. The most important protective factors that came out of the research on children and youth that also are echoed in studies of families and schools and communities make up what I've nicknamed the short list. This is the list of very common resilience factors that have been identified in studies from around the world with many different kinds of people in different environments. And I'm hoping this list won't surprise you. Close relationships, the bonds between people really matter. These are a very powerful part of resilience in children and all the way through adulthood, the social support that we have. And we've already heard about the importance of a sense of belonging, sense of meaning and purpose. Small children really need good caregivers, but as they grow older, they need opportunities to develop their skills, their planning, a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. And they also benefit from routines and ceremonies. Ceremonies like this one and the ceremonies that celebrate different milestones in life, the beginning of school, the end of school, and transitions along the way, are extremely important. They build the capacity for resilience, and they shape important systems. These systems have evolved for generation after generation, both biologically and in terms of our cultures. And when I wrote this book that was already mentioned, way back when, I called these protective factors ordinary magic because they're part of our human legacy, but we can mobilize these systems to shape resilience in our children. The resilience science has had a very interesting effect on practice and policy over the decades. For many years, people in fields concerned about child well-being focused on risk factors and deficits and problems. And the resilience scientists changed the focus to include an emphasis on positive influences in development because they were observing that many of the children that they were studying who had experienced adversity, such as some of the people we've already met during this ceremony, overcame that adversity and went on to thrive and do well in life. And they realized we need to understand that. We need to understand how it is that people can overcome adversity and what we can do to support developing that kind of resilience. Because we can't prevent all adversities. It's good when we can prevent some of them, but we can't prevent everything. This literature suggests there's 3 basic strategies for increasing resilience. And again, we've already heard about them in the suggestions of the children. We can reduce risk and adversity. We can try to reduce the exposure children have, not just to air pollution and water problems, but to violence and to bullying and to maltreatment. We can, build redundant systems that protect us from the kinds of disasters that are more common in our regions. On the positive side, there's another important strategy, which is to boost resources and opportunities. And again, we already heard from the children. It's important that children nowadays have access to broadband internet and that they have easy access not only to health care before they're even born, but also to green spaces, to opportunities to learn skills and jobs and summer internships. We need to support the systems that support children by providing them with resources and training, including families and schools and recreational centers and so forth. And the third big strategy is to mobilize the powerful engines for resilience that are represented on the short list. Young people need opportunities to play, to learn, and to contribute. And that's why I was so happy to see the contributions of young people to this ceremony itself. They have a lot to offer, and including children not only brings wonderful ideas, but it also builds their own capacity for resilience because they get a sense of empowerment from that experience. So we can support traditions that benefit children and build resilience in cities. And I want to say usually people combine those interventions, but I need to close, so I'm going to move right along here. And I wanted to share my final thoughts. And first of all, this photograph in the middle is a picture I took this morning. I looked out the window and there was this wonderful view. And it represents to me, this was dawn in Rotterdam, but Rotterdam is a resilient city. You have tremendous capacity, and Erasmus University also is a university that can really take the lead because you have a lot of great programs here that are oriented toward youth resilience. Our children depend on many systems that vibrant cities can transform to encourage their development, and the future of all of our cities and societies depends on realizing the potential of all our children for resilience and dealing with inequities as well. Thank you very much. It is a particular honor to be here in a resilient city speaking with you about resilience on this very special occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your inspiring presentation, and congratulations.